For 4,500 years, humanity has looked at this structure and asked the same question. Who built it? It is 3 in the morning in the Egyptian desert. No tourists, no cameras, just sand, silence, and in the darkness ahead, something so enormous that your brain refuses to process it correctly. 138 meters of stone rising out of the desert floor, 2.5 million blocks, each one between 2 and 15 tons, standing here since before Julius Caesar was born, since before the Greeks invented philosophy, since before almost everything we call the beginning of human civilization. And not one person alive today, not a single archaeologist, engineer, physicist, or historian, can fully explain how it was built. 3 theories. Before we go any further, I want you to hear 3 things people seriously believe about this pyramid, and decide, right now, which one sounds most impossible. Theory 1. Extraterrestrial beings visited Earth, selected a location that corresponds mathematically to the speed of light, and built a structure so precise we still cannot replicate it. Theory 2. A civilization more advanced than ancient Rome existed 12,000 years ago, built the pyramids, and then vanished from history almost without trace. Theory 3. 20,000 ordinary human beings, using wooden sledges and rope and an enormous quantity of bread and beer, built it over 20 years, supervised by a man with the job title of overseer of all royal construction projects. All 3 have serious defenders. All 3 have problems their supporters cannot fully answer. None of them have been proven. Let us go through all 10. Starting from the desert floor, starting from the question that 4,500 years of human history has not managed to close. The sun has not risen, but the site is already alive. 20,000 workers moving in the pre-dawn dark. Not slaves. The archaeological record now makes this clear. Paid laborers, fed 3 times a day, given medical care when they were injured, which happened often, buried with honor on the site when they died, which also happened. Their hands were calloused, their backs were broken by the time they were 40. Some of them never made it to 40, and yet every morning they came back. This is the official theory, and it has real evidence. We have the workers' villages, excavated and mapped, full of bakeries, breweries, medical facilities. We have administrative papyri detailing stone delivery schedules. We have a man named Hemiunu, Pharaoh Khufu's chief architect, whose statue exists, whose tomb has been found, who almost certainly designed the entire structure. Imagine it. No cranes, no engines, no steel, just stone, rope, human hands, and the relentless Egyptian sun. But here is where the official theory has to go quiet for a moment. The pyramid's base is level to within 2 centimeters across an area larger than 5 football pitches. Its 4 sides align to true north with an accuracy of less than 1/10 of 1 degree, more precise than the Greenwich Observatory in London. The granite blocks in the King's Chamber fit so tightly that a human hair cannot pass between them. Engineers with modern machinery, laser systems, and unlimited budgets have attempted to replicate sections of this construction. Their published conclusion, and I am quoting directly, was that certain aspects remain difficult to fully account for with known technology of the period. Difficult to fully account for. That sentence is doing a very large amount of work. Before you dismiss this, 30 seconds. Because the data point that opens this argument is not easy to walk away from. The Great Pyramid sits at 29.9792 degrees north latitude. The speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second. Multiply the pyramid's latitude by 10 million. You get 299,792,000. The margin between those two numbers is less than 0.001%. Either this is a coincidence of almost impossible improbability, or whoever chose that location knew the speed of light 4,500 years before physics discovered it. The 3 pyramids at Giza are not arranged in a straight line. They are offset, specifically, deliberately, in exactly the same pattern as the 3 stars of Orion's belt, as they appeared in the Egyptian sky in 10,500 BC, not 2,500 BC, 12,000 years ago. The alignment matches that precise window of astronomical time, and no other period in the 26,000-year cycle. The mainstream response is that human beings are exceptional at finding patterns. We see faces in clouds. We impose meaning on coincidence because our brains are built that way. The counter is simple. Clouds are clouds. The pyramids are 2.5 million precision-cut stone blocks arranged at a specific latitude corresponding to a universal physical constant. That is a very specific cloud. Do not look at the pyramid for a moment. Look at the Sphinx, specifically its body. The deep, rounded channels carved into the limestone walls of its enclosure. That weathering pattern. That is not wind erosion, not sand, water. The kind of sustained, heavy weathering caused by centuries of rainfall. The Giza Plateau has not seen significant rainfall since approximately 10,000 years ago, possibly 12,000. Geologist Robert Schoch examined the Sphinx enclosure in 1990 and told the World Archaeological Congress that the erosion patterns indicated the structure had been exposed to heavy sustained rainfall, meaning it was built no later than 7,000 BC, possibly 10,000 BC, possibly older, which would make it twice as old as mainstream archaeology claims, and which would mean whoever built it existed before agriculture agriculture, before writing, before everything we call the beginning of organized human society. Graham Hancock has spent 3 decades arguing for what he calls a lost civilization, advanced, global, largely destroyed by catastrophic floods and impacts at the end of the last ice age around 12,000 years ago. The pyramids, the Sphinx, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, ancient sites beneath the ocean off Japan and India, remnants of a world almost entirely erased, survivors scattered, knowledge passed down in fragments to cultures that came after. Mainstream archaeology says there is no confirmed evidence. Hancock says 12,000 years of rising seas have buried most of it underwater, and we have barely started looking there. Stand inside the king's chamber. The room is red granite, completely silent. And then, one long, low note. The room vibrates back, not in the walls, in your chest. A physical resonance that moves through stone and bone simultaneously. Acoustic researchers have measured it. The chamber resonates at approximately 438 hertz, almost exactly the musical note A, and the room's precise proportions appear to have been calculated to produce that specific frequency, not approximately. Exactly. Why does a tomb need perfect acoustics? Engineer Christopher Dunn spent 20 years studying the pyramid's internal structure. His conclusion: it is not a tomb. It is a machine. The granite, containing significant quantities of quartz crystal, a material with documented piezoelectric properties, would vibrate in response to the Earth's natural seismic frequencies. That vibration amplified through the chamber system, converted into electromagnetic energy, transmitted outward. The shafts that official archaeology calls ventilation passages, Dunn identified as waveguides directing energy in specific directions. This requires ancient knowledge of piezoelectricity, resonance physics, and electromagnetic transmission, all things modern science developed in the 19th and 20th centuries. The resonance is real. The empty sarcophagus, no mummy, no burial, no body has ever been found inside this pyramid, is real. The acoustic precision is real. What it was all for, still missing. This theory does not go alien, does not require a lost civilization. It simply notices a gap in the archaeological record and asks a quiet question about it. In the centuries before the Great Pyramid, Egyptian construction improved the way any technology improves. Gradually, visibly. You can trace the progression. Step pyramids, bent pyramids, structures showing people learning from their mistakes, each generation building slightly better than the last. And then, in what appears to be a single generation, the Great Pyramid appears. No visible intermediate steps. No trial structures demonstrating the development of the required techniques. No progressive prototypes showing the leap from what came before to what stands at Giza. Ancient Egyptian texts describe mysterious figures called the followers of Horus, beings credited in the oldest records with bringing knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and mathematics to the Nile Valley before the age of the pharaohs. Historians classify these as mythology. Some researchers ask a different question, whether mythology might be a civilization's way of remembering something it no longer fully understands. The sudden jump in construction ability is in the record. The explanation for it is not. This appears independently, without cultural contact, in the written and oral traditions of more than a dozen separate ancient civilizations. Greek historians, Hebrew scripture, Mesopotamian texts, indigenous traditions across North America, South America, and Australia. All of them, independently, describe races of enormous ancient humans who built things ordinary people could not. The practical argument for pyramids is straightforward. The largest stones weigh up to 80 tons. Moving them with normal human strength and wooden tools requires logistics complicated enough that engineers have debated the specifics for a century without consensus. If the builders were significantly larger and stronger, the problem becomes considerably simpler. No confirmed giant skeletons from ancient Egypt. The photographs online are digitally altered, verified repeatedly, but 12 independent civilizations with no documented contact describing the same thing. That is easier to dismiss than to explain. Less dramatic than the others, more structurally coherent than most. The Nile flooded every year. Managing that water, for agriculture, for survival, was the central engineering challenge of ancient Egyptian civilization for thousands of years. A structure capable of lifting large quantities of water uphill using pressure dynamics created by its internal geometry would have been of extraordinary practical value. Geologists have found evidence of ancient water channels beneath the Giza plateau. There are passages inside the pyramid descending below the base into a subterranean chamber never fully excavated. The internal proportions, the angles, the chamber positioning, the shaft geometry have been shown to be consistent with hydraulic engineering principles. No aliens, no giants, no lost civilization. Just ancient engineers solving a different problem than we assumed, and building their solution well enough that it has outlasted every civilization that came after them. The ancient Egyptians did not separate medicine from religion. Healing was spiritual. Priests administered both ritual and treatment. The boundary between sacred and therapeutic did not exist the way it does now. Some researchers propose the King's Chamber, with its extraordinary acoustics, its granite construction, vibration, its precisely calibrated resonant frequency, was designed as a healing space. That specific sound frequencies, delivered at the right intensity in the right acoustic environment, produce measurable effects on the human nervous system. Modern clinical research has confirmed this in the 40 Hz range used in contemporary music therapy. The chamber resonates at frequencies that overlap with human brainwave states associated with deep meditation. The chamber was not just a room. What it was designed to do, 4,500 years after the last person used it for its original purpose, is still an open question. Lay the positions of the 3 Giza pyramids over a star map of Orion's belt as it appeared in 10,500 BC. The correspondence in relative position, in size ratio, in orientation is precise enough that the probability of it being random has been calculated at less than 1 in a billion. In that same year, a monument with the body of a lion would have faced directly toward the constellation Leo, rising on the eastern horizon at the spring equinox, a lion body, facing the Lion constellation, at the one astronomical moment in the 26,000-year precession cycle when that alignment was perfect. Robert Bauval and Adrian Gilbert, who published the Orion correlation theory in 1994, argued the entire Giza complex is a permanent record in stone, a map of the sky frozen at a specific moment in astronomical time, built to survive until someone in the distant future was advanced enough to read it. If the map records 10,500 BC, whoever designed it either existed then or possessed astronomical records going back that far. Both possibilities move the beginning of advanced human culture 12,000 years earlier than our current history allows. The alignment is not disputed. What it means, still running 30 years later without resolution. The most honest theory, and in its own quiet way, the most unsettling. We know the ancient Egyptians built it, the workers' villages, the administrative records, the tools, the quarry markings, all of it confirmed. The what-you is not seriously contested. In 2023, archaeologists discovered a buried branch of the Nile that once ran directly past the Giza plateau, showing that the heaviest blocks could have been transported by boat within a few hundred meters of the site. A genuine breakthrough. A question answered after decades. 3 more opened immediately. How were blocks lifted as the structure rose above ramp height? How was the interior built with such geometric and acoustic precision, using only the tools recovered from the site? How was the entire project coordinated? 2.5 million blocks, 20,000 workers, 20 years, without a single surviving construction plan? The honest answer from the people who have spent their careers at this question is, we are still working on it. We know more than we did. We know considerably less than we would like. And the pyramid continues to produce new discoveries, new contradictions, and new reasons to stand in front of it and feel that the question is larger than any answer we have found so far. The sun is coming up over the desert, tour buses pulling in, guides warming up the same explanation they give every morning. Workers, ramps, ropes, 20 years. Impressive. Move along. The pyramid does not move along. It was already ancient when Julius Caesar stood here, already old when Cleopatra was alive, built before the wheel was in common use in Egypt, before iron tools, before writing fully existed, before almost everything we use to measure the beginning of sophisticated human life. 10 theories. Aliens, giants, lost civilizations, machines, star maps, healing temples, water pumps. People more advanced than we credit. People who had help we cannot identify. People who figured out something we have not yet fully replicated. Maybe the real mystery is not how the pyramids were built. Maybe the real mystery is how much of human history we still do not understand. The pyramids are still standing. The questions are still unanswered. And if stories like this, the mysteries that history still cannot close, if they fascinate you the way they fascinate me, subscribe, because there are many more waiting.